What's going on, everybody? This is the F Word Podcast brought to you by Entertain Facts. I am G, and with me is Nick and Anthony.
Hello, I am here again in the weird angle, so it's going to be nice.
A little bit nice.
Yeah. Thanks for totally blocking me. That's cool, though. That's all right.
Yeah, you're good right there. Don't worry. You're fine right there. Yeah.
Go ahead, boss.
It's okay. Now that we're doing the 1080, it's a little bit wider.
Yeah.
Episode 11.
Yeah.
The three of us are back. We are going to be filming an IT review as well. We're going to be seeing it in about an hour, so I'm super stoked for that.
Except for him.
Except for you.
Except for me.
He's very scared.
You need to see. If it's that good, I'll tell you. You need to see it.
Okay.
Okay.
I still won't, but okay. Yeah.
So, you're going to get.
It'll be like Face Off all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? If you don't see the movie, you're going to get
It.
The Chris Jericho reference.
Speaking of Chris Jericho, again, WWF Word will be coming back soon. Just working on some logistics of it.
Yeah.
So what we've decided to do now going forward is, and we put it on the Entertain Facts page, is that every week now the show's going to be broken up into two segments that we're going to be quarterbacked by the fans. Okay, that's you. So Anthony's going to be putting it on his Entertain Facts page, and we've actually gotten probably over 50 topics that people wanted us to talk about. So this allows us to get more in touch with you guys and see what you like, talk about what you guys want to talk about.
Yeah.
At the end of every show, we'll be doing a top 5, okay? So we're going to be doing that new little structure. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and the top 5 poll already, we've had quite a few people voting for it. That was
only in the 24 hours because I forgot about it till like yesterday and I didn't re-upload it. We got a lot of votes.
Tons of people.
That's
So
awesome.
we'll be doing the top 5, our top 5 collectively, and then we're going to be talking about how it relates to your top 5 based on the poll, and the poll is on Entertain Facts. So we're going to start off right away. So one of our topics coming in on the page was from _the_wall_. And what he asks is us to talk about companies making reboots for films that really don't need or can't be rebooted. And this question's kind of been said a couple different times on the page, so a lot of people want to talk about it. Gentlemen, start us off.
Just want to say this real quick. Hello, because this guy DMs me quite a lot.
Oh, sure.
And second, I was watching a mini podcast on YouTube, Mr. Sunday Movies, and he was talking a bit about this, but he mentioned Terminator and how nobody cares about it anymore. They had to stop pushing it out there because the second movie came out, which he said was the best one arguably.
Amazing.
And nobody cared about it. So if that's a sign saying just stop making the movies.
Are you talking about Terminator 2 nobody cared about?
The 3D one, the
re-release. The re-release. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of goes back to you running out of plots, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to go back and revisit some of these cult classics, hopefully, in the attempt to make some extra cash out of it.
Yep.
Like Terminator should have stopped after T2, like the original, with T-1000 and Arnold Schwarzenegger. After that, you don't need to make any more remakes. You don't need to revisit it. You don't need to do alternate worlds. You don't need to do all this kind of stuff. I'm a firm, I agree 100%. You got to leave some of them.
Nick's saying "Hasta la vista, baby" to the franchise because that's a line in the movie.
He's our
so
boss.
Anthony,
yeah, he's our boss. He signs our checks.
So when you're seeing stuff like the reboots and the rehashes for movies that you haven't seen before, let's say some of the older ones, they did one of Chips, did horribly at the box office.
Dukes
no
of
one
Hazzard.
cared. Dukes of Hazzard. Horrible. No one cared about it. So when you see stuff that you find out after, it's oh, this is actually a reboot of something. Do you care?
Well, usually I will know. The movie we're going to see in an hour, It is a remake of the original.
Correct.
So for that one, I usually tend not to go back if I haven't seen the original until after I've seen the reboot, just because, as I said before, I don't like watching trailers. I want to go in there with a fresh, fresh state of mind, so I kind of get surprised by everything. After I do see It tonight, I do plan to go back and watch the first part of the original. Heard the second part with the adults isn't really that good, so I really don't care to watch it. But just interesting. But yeah, usually I'll obviously know if it's a remake just because I'm kind of in.
You're in the know.
Yeah, I'm in the know. But if I haven't seen it before, I'll just wait until I see the new one, then go back and watch it after and compare it.
And compare the two. Mm-hmm. Nick, how much do you put stock in nostalgia?
I think you should put a lot of it. I think I think they do put a lot of it in order for them to actually get people to come and watch these shows again. Perfect example I just thought of now, Beauty and the Beast. I think that's an example of a reboot that was done well.
It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, but I mean, that's one where you took a cartoon and, you know, with animation, like the technology we have now, you rebooted it, you did it as a live action, and it did awesome. Transformers is another example where, you know, they did a reboot of those. You know, again, that was kind of more live action or whatever.
Then a reboot in the middle of it.
Yeah,
right.
I think it all depends on like if it's something where the technology back then wasn't good, and now we have such an advancement where you could do a reboot and still kind of tell the same story but better.
Right.
I think there's time, or there's like it's a good time to do that. But in terms of just taking like something like Dukes of Hazzard, for example, and just saying, you know what, like, okay, guys, we're running out of ideas. What are we gonna do? Okay, well, this show was popular in the '80s, so let's do that. I don't like that. Now you're just like you're being lazy as far as I'm concerned.
Trying to get some type of a cash cow and then going directly for the nostalgia of it.
Yeah.
Well, Super Troopers 2 is coming out. I love the first one.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I find that the movies that when they came out, aside from Beauty and the Beast, which was a direct, pretty much a shot-for-shot remake, so it's a little bit different, it's a live action, but some of the ones that they try to bring back and reboot, because they were of a time, and they came out at the right time, and it was cheesy for the time, and so on and so forth. I mean, talks of Goonies 2 have been around and such, and someone actually brought that up as a topic. It just wouldn't work in today's age because it's different. So
that's a great point, actually. That's a really valid point. Just like Chips in the 70s.
It was of a time.
It was of a time.
Yeah. And it was a TV show. It wasn't actually a movie.
No, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it matched in that time frame. Right?
Yeah. I do want to throw it out there. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but I'm looking right there. There's a Batman movie. I do like The Dark Knight. I love Christopher Nolan, love Christian Bale, but like Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, all like those are the main three I'd say that have been rebooted time and time after again.
It's true.
Yeah.
And like that's why Homecoming like bombed at the box office. Nobody really like I don't want to say cares, but like there's been like what like 6 Spider-Man movies now.
There's been a lot. Yeah. So people just think of it as a rehash.
It's usually like the same plot, like a rehash, but like that Dark Knight and the trilogy as a whole, that was a different take. It was a realistic Batman. BVS, that's like a comic book accurate Batman. So at least they're trying to do different things. Like I get Raimi's the first one, and the best one was more of a realistic Spider-Man, which was the start of the franchise. You can't really say that was a reboot, but the one after it just kind of felt like
the Mark Webb ones.
The Mark Webb ones.
Yeah.
You didn't really care for them. Everybody wanted to see Spider-Man 4. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Everybody still wants to see Spider-Man 4. I still want to see it. Did you hear any plans about Spider-Man 4?
I like the idea that they had behind Spider-Man 4, definitely. I mean, that's why Spider-Man 3 tanked, because they crammed so many things into it. And I think that's the other thing, too, is that for the reboots, Nick, do you think that, you know, you find that they try to cram so many things? Baywatch, for instance, TV show that was rebooted, bombed. I don't care to see it. I didn't care to see the TV show.
I did see it, not for the plot, but I watched it,
Yeah, but, I mean, for yourself, like, then I'll switch it to you then. So do you think that they just went too far? Do you find that they go too far?
I feel like to an extent they do. Like Baywatch, you could tell was more of like a fun kind of reboot. Like they weren't really serious of making like a whole, you know, brand new Baywatch series off of this. It was kind of like I know they had their references to the original cast and like, stories, but I feel like if you let more original like movies come out, like I know Baby Driver is a huge hit. Haven't seen it yet.
Original.
You had Get Out, Split, John Wick, both of them, which is
they're originals.
A huge franchise.
Or again, like we talked about, a universe.
Yeah. Which is kind of, I don't know, because I feel like the good thing about spy movies, especially John Wick, is that it's mysterious. You don't really like the whole pencil in the eye trick. You're like, oh, was it in the eye?
It was in the.
Oh, he killed like 3 people in the bar.
He killed a bunch of people. Yeah.
And like everybody's like, oh, did you hear? Like this is John Wick, the guy who killed 3 people in a bar with a pencil. And like, if you see that, it's gonna be like, oh, you like. The good thing about movies, is to like let your imagination like run wild. But if you're setting up all these reboots, you've kind of seen it all, and like you're just not really interested by it anymore. Like Spider-Man has become now. So
in terms of the reboots that have been coming out, like, you know how they keep trying to rehash and reboot, let's say, the Terminator franchise, like you said, and it hasn't been doing very well. And they're trying to throw in Arnold Schwarzenegger in there to try to make it something. Have you
tap into the nostalgia.
Tap into the nostalgia. And do you think it's worked, Nick?
No, I don't. Like, I think if it does work, if it does make any well, it makes some money. I'm not saying it doesn't make any money, but if it does, it's just people just going out of curiosity or trying to find that nostalgic, moment again. But I think in the end, what happens is they just come out of it like more disillusioned. They're like, like, man, that was just garbage.
Didn't
right?
need to see it.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
we talked about Zoolander the one time.
Yeah, I refused to watch it.
Yeah, and I made the mistake of watching the second one, and it was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So reboots and rehashes, not. Oh yeah.
Really quickly to throw in one reboot that really worked well: Creed.
Yes. That is
There
true.
are reboots
Yes.
that
But
work.
Balboa wasn't.
Balboa was better. Balboa was definitely better than 5 because people didn't like 5.
Of course.
But Balboa was okay. It was very similar to the first one. But yes, Creed could be considered a reboot that worked
And like
really
The Force
well.
Awakens, that was a reboot of number 4 or a rehash.
It was it was very similar. They took the same format and stuff.
But
So
that worked. I'm not gonna say that they don't work all the time or it's bad all the time.
Yeah.
But if you do it right, it'll work.
Well, even Dumb and Dumber, like I love Dumb and Dumber, but Dumb and Dumber 2 did not work, and it was all in the back of Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey, which they couldn't carry it because they just kept pushing it further and further instead of just letting it be.
And the remake they made with who was it? That was the new movies. They did a Dumb and Dumber again. Remember?
Oh yeah, with those young guys.
Yeah, and that
when they
was
were
just
earlier.
garbage.
Yeah,
Like,
and they're just trying to tap into the nostalgia.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think. Thank you _the_wall _ for that question. We're going to be giving you a shout out even on the page as well and on YouTube. Thank you for submitting that. And we're going to move on to our next topic. So I think the next one we were going to talk about is some classics. Now the question was posed by Harris RG 2002, and they asked us,
really good guy,
really good guy.
I know him well.
Do you?
No.
And the question was, well, not really a question. The topic he wants us to talk about is the classics. So specifically, he mentions, Ferris Bueller, Breakfast Club, Police Academy, Risky Business, all good classic talk about them. And a couple other people were talking about some things related to that. So I'll start with you, Nick, in terms of a classic. You kind of brought it up when we were doing our top 10 favorite movies, but in terms of like even going further back, what would be a classic for you?
Yeah, like the Breakfast Club, what that he mentioned, like that's a classic. It's like an iconic movie.
Yep.
For my generation, one that kind of stood out was like Superman with Christopher Reeves. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like those ones were classic movies that that stand out. Star Wars, obviously, those ones are
They're considered classics.
They're
That original
classics.
trilogy
They're
is a
iconic.
classic. Yeah.
So those are the ones that kind of stood out for me, like little sleeper hits that like now that you look at like Pretty in Pink, right?
Oh,
Like
great movie.
Great movie, 16 Candles. Like
Yeah.
those ones are just movies where you're like, oh my god, those were like really good for their time, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they're just a classic story.
Yeah.
In the end, like, there's only so many different plots you could have in a movie, right? But like, it's the characters and all that kind of stuff that make it, and like those are the ones that you'll remember. Those are, again, like, how we had said, I judge a good movie by the one that if I could see it, if it comes up on TV or whatever, I can see it over and over again, right? So those ones for me are classics. Like Superman, the old school ones,
The
like
originals.
even with the really bad effects, like you
But at the time though, when I talk to people that grew up with it, they remember seeing Superman fly for the first time, right? That's a pretty
amazing.
groundbreaking moment, right?
Yeah.
Anthony, for you, obviously playing off our 3-generational template that we've got here, for yourself, what would be what's the earliest movie you remember watching that you'd consider a classic?
Get ready to feel old in 3, 2, 1.
Rocky.
The original?
Oh.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
When did you see? Do you remember when you saw it?
I remember AMC always has their I want to say monthly runs of the whole series of Rocky, and
The marathons.
Coming from an Italian family, my dad said, "Hey, sit down on the couch. You're gonna watch 1 through 6."
You're watching our family right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just sit there. Watch
This is your bloodline.
This is your bloodline,
I'm
yeah.
gonna say my favorite one was Rocky 2.
Cool, okay, yeah.
But I am gonna also, another classic I love, and I mentioned it before, Austin Powers. I can watch that time and time
It's a
after
classic.
again.
It's
The original.
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them, but even like that first one
The
came out.
second one, actually, I thought was pretty well done too.
That one was
there
a good
some
one.
really good
It was
ones.
pretty movie, yeah.
The third one, they went a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Like it didn't have as much heart and it wasn't as simple. But yeah, definitely. Austin Powers
You
is
guys
a good
know
one.
this actually as well. I met Vern Troyer last year
At the where?
at the expo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. He was pretty
Pretty decent guy.
pretty small, but yeah.
Pretty sure.
He was
Would
rolling around in a
you
scooter.
would you say that was a short conversation?
Oh,
Oh, I threw one of my first ones in there.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna
Boom, boom. No, that's a good one. Austin Powers is a really good one. Any other ones that are popping up?
I don't know. I'm gonna say, obviously, as you could tell by me defending Tobey Maguire religiously.
Hey, yeah.
Spider-Man 2002.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was in my top 10. Spider-Man 2, specifically was in my
Christian
top 10.
Bale's trilogy.
Would you consider that a classic? I mean, it's getting there. It's almost at that 10-year mark.
Well, I'd say because that's the Batman I grew up with.
Yeah.
So, also Toy Story. How did I forget Toy Story?
That is a legitimate classic.
That's a good one.
That is that is almost its own tale as old as time.
That's probably like the only Pixar movie I ever really cared about. Not gonna lie. No, I don't care about Incredibles 2. I'm very mad they switched around Toy Story 4 with Incredibles 2. I was the only person sad about that for some reason.
That's fair. That's fair. Nick, in terms of the earliest classic movie you remember watching.
The very first movie I remember watching in a theater was Beverly Hills Cop.
Nice,
Yeah,
man.
Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
Great comedy.
That was the first
Holy
movie
crap.
I've ever seen, and I was like, this guy's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, like those were like classics for me too. So that was the very first movie that my sister took me to when I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Man, and Eddie Murphy was on the top of his game.
Yeah.
Coming to America was one of my favorites,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd.
Yes. Yeah.
Those two movies,
Yeah.
I still like. I'll pop in and I'll watch. Actually, Coming to America, me and my dad watch a lot together.
Really?
When it's on,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah, that's a
great
great movie.
pick on the Beverly Hills,
Yeah,
man.
that was the first movie I ever been to.
Actually, weird kind of side note. My teacher was actually like talking about Trading Places yesterday.
Was he?
And I have no idea what it's about.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You got to walk in there and just go, Lionel, and just see what he tells you. Just tell him that exactly. I think he'll lose his mind. But those are some great movies.
Yeah.
For me, I think a lot of my top 10 tended to be classics. Again, your Goodfellas, your Scarfaces, your Godfathers, as we have up here. Those would be classics. In terms of earliest movie, I remember one of the first ones, I was probably about 6, was A New Hope. Star Wars A New Hope, yeah. And it was pretty epic when it came out there. But Ferris Bueller's Day Off, definitely one.
Great movie.
Breakfast Club is in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I adore that movie. I actually got to meet Judd Nelson one time, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man movies, I think they're at that point where it's a classic, because I think once you get past
It's like 15 years.
once you get like past 10 years, it's creeping up. You're talking about a different generation being brought up on this stuff.
Going back to just
Or would you
briefly.
say crawling up?
Oh,
Well done.
good catch.
Going back to how we were talking about just briefly with the remakes, the one that I thought of just now that I was like, you know what, this one actually might have potential for a good remake was, and your guys are both too. You might remember, but do you remember He-Man?
Yeah, man, they are doing it.
I know.
Yeah, they are.
Oh yeah.
So if they are gonna actually go ahead and do it, like they're saying they're gonna do it. but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that one has a potential to be a good like a reboot, because the one in the 80s, whatever, it was okay, but like now
It was a
with
victim.
The right writing,
It wasn't even the writing. It was a victim of the technology of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of mistakes are. Like, these classics are classics for a reason, and they're staying there. Specifically, like you mentioned, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club. Those are character pieces. They're written to showcase your characters. And I think when you get away, and it doesn't make sense to go back. If you did a shot-for-shot remake of Ferris Bueller, it wouldn't work.
Well, just like Footloose.
Just like Footloose, yeah. Does not work. And Footloose is a great one,
It's
too.
a great movie.
Because a lot of the time,
Dirty
the things...
Dancing, like-
Dirty Dancing is a huge one. And I think they did a Dirty
tried
Dancing,
to make
too.
it TV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those classics are... Those are
upsetting.
legitimate classics. I think... Yeah, and those ones are some of like the ones that have laid the groundwork in terms of overall writing. Like, you've got your directors like your John Hugheses that, again, was the architect for your... I mean, Home Alone 1 is considered
Home
a
Alone,
classic.
another classic.
Yeah.
The first one specifically.
Yeah, that was
again,
awesome.
Jaws...
Yeah.
E.T. will forever be a classic.
will always be.
And E.T.'s another one that E.T. and Jaws wouldn't work for reboots or reshoots or rehashes or whatever, because the essence of those movies were on the little things, right? With Jaws, they were limited to what they can do, so they never showed the actual shark until like the very end. So it was this like looming presence, right?
So I guess its bark was worse than its bite.
No, its bite was really bad.
There's no bark with a shark.
Its bark
but-
was...
Oh, I'm sorry, you were sure.
Its shark was worse than its bite. That you could say, but
No.
you're
Its
just-
bite was really bad.
Yeah, so far G is winning today in the
Just
fun.
laugh.
Yeah.
That's all I ask.
But I mean, when you look at it though, like...
Until you sign the checks.
Yeah, but people expect
checks, you
more.
will too.
Yeah, people expect more, I think, and they need like like for them to do a Jaws reboot, let's say, because it's such a classic for them, they wouldn't be able to recreate that magic of it. Steven Spielberg built his career on creating this magic that like only exists in your mind as a kid, and now you're seeing it, like E.T. going over the moon with the kids, right? Like if that were to happen now, people are like, okay, whatever, like we've seen this 100 times, right? And that's why they'll remain classics. Classics of today, do you think there are any in the past 5 years? I know you mentioned The Dark Knight. That will probably go down as definitely a classic.
Yeah.
I feel like Deadpool will be considered a classic.
You think it'll be considered a classic?
I think it'll be a cult classic.
It's
a good one.
I think it'll be bigger because it made more money.
It was a blockbuster.
Fight Club, let's say, would be a cult classic because it made, like, nobody liked it when it came out.
Yeah.
Scarface was a bomb at the box office, and it became this cult classic. Yeah. But yeah, there's very few. I think movies like those, Baby Drivers, your Get Outs, those movies are the ones that are going to end up being your
Hacksaw Ridge.
Your Hacksaw Ridges.
Not the new Ghostbusters. No.
Not the new Ghostbusters. Oh man, we didn't even talk about that before. Like that just didn't work. There was like, again, we expect more out of the movies, and they try to push it too much. Yeah. And again, they lose that little bit. So let us know in the comments what you think what your favorite classics are and why you like them. There's a reason why we like these things. For me, it's the little things. For you, Nick?
Yeah, like, I mean, it is a bit of a nostalgia thing. It's like, you know, it's movies where you grow up and you're like, okay, like that's where I got my sense of humor was from watching this movie.
Sure,
or that's, you know, where I got these killer one-liners and like my wit was from watching this movie, right? So I think in life, a lot of movies help develop you as a person, right?
100%.
And so like the people who like these certain types of movies are the ones like, you know, there's a reason for it, and the reason for it is because it helps develop them as a person. Like, you liked Spider-Man, you know, when you were a kid, I remember you, like, everything was, you know, you wanted to be Spider-Man. Why did Spider-Man cross the road? You know, but it helped develop you as a person, right? So it's little stuff like that I find that I think that people really, you know, attract to a movie and stick with it.
Anthony?
First, I feel like I should explain the joke because people who heard...
I was hoping. I didn't want to put you on the spot. This is totally on you.
Okay, so when I was a child, I would always go up to my Uncle Nick and say, like, you know, why did Spider-Man cross the road? And then he'd say, you know, like, oh, why? And I'd say, in your face. And it just...
You wouldn't even let me finish. I'd be like, and you'd be like, why did Spider-Man cross the road? I'm like, okay, what? In your face! And I was like, it was classic. Your best one was still... what do you call a polar bear in the desert? Lost.
Lost.
But anyway.
I think that's a good
way to end this.
some classic jokes. Again, let us know. Email us at thefwordpodcast@gmail.com. You can always follow me on Twitter at @thefwordsg. Make sure you're following Entertain Facts because we keep updating and you can get your topics in for the show. That's the new way we're going to do it. And also, we had put out our poll for the top 5 Batman. I know there was Batman portrayals. So we're going to have our list. We're going to be doing the list based on the poll. A ton of you voted in, and we're going to be doing more of those. So
we also have Chris Jericho's list.
Chris Jericho's
the
list?
Yeah.
The list?
You just made the list. Yeah. It's okay.
It's a WWE joke.
I get it.
If you watch the podcast, you would know that.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I'm G. I'm with me, Nick. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Anthony, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me here today.
Of course. This was the F Word Podcast, and we are out.
But today is a new segment which we'll be doing at the end of every show, and it's a top five list of basically whatever I feel like posting or we feel like posting. So basically, this week was top 5 actors to play Batman on the big screen, and we're going to take your top 5 submitted by the fans and have our top 5 and see how it ranks. We'll start off with our top 5. I'm going to grab my phone. But we had Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Adam West, Keaton, Clooney, and Kilmer. Those are all the options for the fans to vote and for us to vote. How we ranked it was Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, Adam West, not Clooney, Kilmer, and then Clooney. Then if you guys voted, I'll have percentages and all that as well. Christian Bale was number 1 with 47% and 88 votes. Ben Affleck right behind him, which is basically no surprise to anybody, with 39% and 72 votes. Adam West was number 3 with 6% and 12 votes. That's kind of a big drop. Michael Keaton was behind Adam West in 4th place with 3.8% votes. with only 3.8% with 7 votes. Sorry about that. George Clooney was number 5, surprisingly, with 2.17% and only 4 votes. And then Kilmer came in last with a measly 0.54%, equaling 1 vote. Which that shocked us. We did not think that Clooney would be ahead of anybody. But I guess that's just how you guys voted. For the one Val Kilmer fan, I feel your pain. But thank you guys so much for watching the main episode of the F Word podcast, and then this little after credit segment. I'm Anthony, Entertain Facts. If you guys don't know that, but anyway, this is me. We'll be doing more of these, especially more of these, because I think you guys are really interested in them. We're really interested in doing them. It's really fun to do. If you guys have any suggestions for top 5s, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to us, and leave a comment saying how you like the show. That'd be nice. Any feedback, any, would be appreciated. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.